Hi, welcome to Enter the Bunker, where we launch you into thriving. Each week we talk about a different virtue that can be used as a building brick to build your own personal bunkers. We share personal stories, as well as tips and tricks to help you thrive instead of survive. So sit down, relax, and enter the bunker.
And welcome to Enter the Bunker. This week's building brick is devotion.
And we're devoted
To
devotion and the building bricks, because that is what it takes when it comes to the building bricks, is to have devotion in everything that we do.
So true.
Right?
Yeah.
So you got to have commitment. It is all about caring deeply about what you do and to your life's purpose.
All right, so quotes. Let's go over a few quotes.
Here we go.
Devote yourself to an idea. Go make it happen. Struggle on it. Overcome your fears. Smile. Don't forget, this is your dream. Unknown.
I wonder who said that.
I know, I'm very curious. I love the last part of that. This is your dream.
Mm-hmm.
Quote number 2. To succeed in your mission, you must have single-minded devotion to your goal. APJ Abdul Kalam, 11th President of India. Quote 3. I know the price of success: dedication, hard work, and an unremitting devotion to the things you want to see happen. Frank Lloyd Wright, an architect. Devote time wisely to discover your true self. Sunday Adelja, a religious leader. Give full attention and devotion to each act. Marcus Aurelius, Roman emperor. Cool. What you treat with devotion grows. Unknown.
Nice. Which one's your favorite?
Probably the first one, because I said I like the last part of it, where it's like, don't forget, this is your dream.
Okay, you like that, huh?
Yeah,
Okay.
So I want to yell that loud.
So the first one that you talked about, I think, is my favorite.
Is it? We're the same.
Yeah, so I think it's because it talks about being devoted to your ideas and to struggling on it and overcoming your fears, because that's really what it takes, right? So if you have real devotion to something and you really care deeply about it, then with that force of devotion, you're able to overcome all those things and then actually succeed, right? And again, it goes on. Remember, this is your dream, right?
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people, they tend to forget that they should be pursuing their dreams.
Mm-hmm.
I think tendency in today's world is that a lot of people are pursuing other things, and then they don't stop to actually realize their own dreams.
Right.
And I think that's what causes a lot of people to lose their sense of like their energy and their enthusiasm whenever they're doing, right? But when it comes to like this quote about like actually recognizing your own dream and then being devoted to it, that's what it takes. And if you do that, then that's actually where happiness comes from, right?
Yeah. I do like the part where it says struggle on it as well. And that's only because I always find, like, personally, I always learn the hard way. So when you're devoted to something, you may mess up, but as long as you take that and learn from it, like, I feel like that's the struggling part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a lot of people just, unfortunately, when it comes to how we're educated in our schooling system, public schooling system anyway, is that we're taught that failure is bad, and that doing what you're told is good, right? That's a life lesson, like from public education, right? Like if you do what you're told, you'll be rewarded.
Right.
But if you make a mistake, you'll be punished, right?
You're gonna fail.
Yeah, you're a failure, right? And so a lot of people have a tendency to fear failure because of that.
Right.
Like we grew up like being told, like, don't get bad grades, right?
Don't get in trouble.
Yeah, don't get in trouble, don't do that, right? And so then we end up like just being afraid of actually failing.
Yeah.
And the truth is, we should be devoted to like whatever it is we're doing. We should be so devoted that the fear of failure isn't there. We're actually welcoming it because it means that we're actually going through the struggle towards our dreams. Yeah. And so if more people didn't have that fear in them, they'd just be able to accomplish so much more.
Yeah, try to embrace failure.
Yeah, and everybody knows this about me, right? Like when I talk about my failures, And I have failures. I have lots of them. Like, it's just that I've failed more than other people have been willing to fail. That's the truth, right? And if you, like, I think it's Michael Jordan that said, I've missed more shots than anybody I've ever known, or something like that, right? Because he just kept taking shots and kept taking shots until he just kept practicing, right?
Yeah, he was devoted.
Yeah, because he was devoted, right? So, you know, when it comes to failures, as long as you have the devotion, to me it's failing forward. Right? It's one thing to, if you don't fail, if you just fail and then you just stop, well, guess what? That's the end of the journey.
That's the end of the journey.
Like, you haven't,
You didn't learn anything from it?
you might have learned something, but you haven't moved forward, right? And it stopped you from being able to achieve.
Right.
That's what happened, right? Yeah. But if you can fail forward, like, understand that, okay, in this process, that didn't work. Now we know that. Let's move ahead, because now we've learned from that. Then that changes everything. That's the game changer. That's the difference that devotion makes, is your ability to be able to wholeheartedly push through whatever it takes.
Right. So there's another quote here that's kind of got me thinking about what we're talking about now. And this one is, devote time wisely to discover your true self. Why do you think you should devote the time wisely?
So
why can't you just devote the time? Why does it have to be wisely?
Devote time wisely to discovering your true self. So I guess that the difference in that is that, think about what a lot of people do after their work.
Right.
Like, after they're done work, what do they do with the time that they have?
Right.
Do they go out and party with their friends?
They go home and cook supper for their kids, do homework, read books, bath time, get them to bed, and feel like, what did I do all day?
Yes.
Do I have stress built up? Yes.
Yes. So, I mean, the truth is, though, is that, I mean, like, did they devote some time to actually understanding their truth, like what they truly want?
Right.
Right.
Okay.
And most people, truthfully, most people don't even know to do that.
Right.
I think a lot of people go through all the things you just talked about, and they get caught in that, and that's why they come to Enter the Bunker, because they need some help.
Yeah.
so that's, and then they need to have these building bricks in order to get them out of that.
Yeah.
But if they could be able to take the time, 10, 15 minutes a day with Enter the Bunker is very useful, by the way, to be able to actually devote some time to really reflecting on what it is that matters to them, and being able to then get devoted to that. That makes that's what really, it sets you in the right direction. And if you have that, and I think a lot of people, they can go a long time. Like, you can go, like, here's a good example.
Yeah.
You know, we have the phrase, it's called a midlife crisis.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And what happens in a midlife crisis? Suddenly, it's like,
you feel like your life gets switched upside down.
Yeah. You spent half your life now, like, because it's midlife, right? And suddenly you're just like, oh my gosh, what have I done? Right? Like, all these things I thought, like, you know, I'm here, I've done this, I've done, but it's not what I really wanted. Yeah. And then suddenly they're questioning everything, right? And so then they kind of start doing crazy things, right? So then start doing these things, thinking that that's going to be what makes the difference, right? But they're kind of back into, it's almost like they got to a point where it's almost like they got to a point where they've done all these things, and now they've kind of in a panic, and now they're kind of just like throwing out all these ideas on, like, what they think they might want, right? And so then they start doing these crazy things, and then maybe it doesn't turn out, maybe it does. Maybe some people actually, like, you know, I'm going to get right. But here's what's great. Right now, because of what's happened recently due to the pandemic, a lot of people are now what some people refer to as awakening. You know, like, they're beginning to actually reassess and be like, what really matters in life, right? And because that whole, like, the great pause, they call it, happened, now people are kind of saying, like, okay, like, they actually had the time. Too much to actually look and be like, okay, what was I really doing here, you know? And so it gave everybody a pause, and now they're actually starting to reassess what they're doing and what they should be devoted to, right? And so it's caused this kind of upset, and it's caused a lot of people to just awaken to the fact that, you know what, I need to start doing things that really are meaningful in my life.
Benefit
And
me.
and so then there's this, I'm actually reading a book right now. Sorry, I'm listening to a book right now. I just keep saying reading, but I love audiobooks. And so it's called The Whole Mind.
Okay.
And it's a really interesting, I can't remember the author right now. I'll probably mention it in another show. But in The Whole Mind, he talks about how there's left and right thinking in the mind,
Yes.
right? And that traditionally speaking, in the past, we've had the left side be the one that's like analytical and all this kind of thing, and it has been the most dominant and the one that's most valued. And that's where we've gotten to where, we went from a farming world to like an industrial age, and now we're in this knowledge, and then we went to knowledge age, and all of this was very analytical. But now we're moving to the right side, where it's very creative and where there's like more value in beauty and things like this. And so the next age that we're approaching is one where things of beauty and things that have an emotional value are more important than these things that that was primarily left side brain sort of thing, right? So it's a very interesting, because it's actually talking about, I'm talking about the left and the right, but he says, even though that's going to be the tendency towards that, there is a whole mind that has to be considered, right? And so the people who are going to be most successful going into this new age are going to be the ones who can position themselves with a whole-mindedness kind of approach and an attitude towards business, towards life, towards everything they do, and serving others in that way. So, which is really interesting, because the knowledge-based economy, up until now, is what a lot of people think. That's what's driving everything, is that we have this knowledge-based economy and whatnot, but we're moving out of it already. We're already going into this different age where you have to have, where there's more value put in things that have meaning, that are beautiful, right? And so, for example, in the crypto space, got to talk about it. In the crypto space, what's the hot thing in the crypto space now? NFTs.
Right.
Why? Because it's all about art, And so
so much with it.
Yeah, and it's about being able to actually attach some value. Like, they could actually create value from this, right? And they could actually have things that are beautiful and that are meaningful to them. And because it's using non-fungible token technology, it makes it so easy for people to have access to it, and to be able to like transact with it in ways that they couldn't do with a physical object, right? And this age, like where we are right now, we're beginning to see the emergence where, and it's funny because some people say, well, it's not real. It's like, but look at so many things today that are more real than what you would say is real. Like, if you look at your social media, for example, and the amount of people who are on there who are following you or actually interacting with you there compared to what's happening in real life, what's real, right? There's more real reality happening in the digital realm than there is in reality.
Right.
So when you introduce something like NFTs, which allows people to be able to have ownership over something which has meaning to them personally, then that really changes the game in a way that nobody's been able to have access to until now. So this is why so many people are getting into NFT. Like, huge companies are moving towards this because they understand that this is what people want. Like, this is what the next stage is. And so they're trying to position themselves to do that. And that's why this technology is really taking off right now. And everybody's talking about it, and people are trying to get into it. And it's funny because it's not necessarily all about the money, right? It's more about like the value that they attach to what they've gotten in. And of course, some of them are going crazy high in terms of value and so forth. And it's kind of exciting that way. But it's all because of this whole mind emergence towards a more of a right side brain kind of thinking, where we put more emphasis on meaning and on beauty than we do on analytics and that other side of our brain.
Right. So you kind of got me thinking too. So like, if you do put more meaning on the beauty of things and all that, and it's doing well, you're gonna see it doing well right there. Like, you're gonna see it in front of you versus having to worry about the analytics. Like, it's gonna be doing well because you're seeing it.
Yeah. So you're talking about the amount of care and devotion you put into it.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like one of the other quotes you talked about. I think it was the Roman emperor that said it. What did he say?
Right here. Give full attention and devotion to each act.
Boom. There it is. So give full attention and devotion to each NFT.
There you go.
There it is. There's your pro tip. So yeah, I mean, it's all about how much devotion you put into everything you do. And because of these emerging technologies that allow us to do that in different ways, it really is about focusing on your life purpose and being able to incorporate that into everything you do. And the more people, the people who are really going to succeed in today's market are the ones that recognize that and operate in that mode, right? So devotion, well, I mean, like when it comes to like being wholehearted, means being whole about everything. So, like for example, when it comes to the way that we operate with things here, how many times have I said like, you know, like we're devoted to open source? So
all the time.
yeah, so it's like we are operating and we're devoted to open source. So is the tool open source? Yes or no? Yeah. And if it's like no, it's like, well, then find me an open source solution, right? And so then it's like, and some people will go, well, you got to use the tools, and it's just like, but this is what we do, right? Yeah. And if we aren't operating in this space, then we'll be blind to what opportunities could possibly be here, and also, what's the point if we're just going to turn around and just not actually support what it is that we're looking to build, right? So that's being wholehearted and being devoted to what it is that we're doing. So, and that's just part of what we do here. So, you know, that's just like, but that's just a good example of like how you can demonstrate devotion in everything that you do and in the decisions you make, even when it comes to the tools you will use. Yeah.
All right, so we've been talking about devotion to ourselves, mostly, but there's also devotion to one's community. This may be religious, a neighborhood, a team sport, an occupation, or even more an abstract definition of community. But the devotion that is put into this is no different than devotion to yourself or to your children. Without the ongoing devotion of its members, a community will surely cease to exist.
That's right.
Yeah, so I guess it's saying like there's not just devotion to yourself, but it's also pretty much to everything you do.
Yeah.
That's pretty much what I'm taking.
Well, when it comes to anything that has to do with like creating groups, right?
Yeah.
So working with others, having a real, like really being committed to it. It's the same sort of thing. If we have that kind of devotion, then that's what creates the excitement. Yeah. And then people, and that's again what gets us through the hard times, the failures, and things like that.
Having the community.
Yeah, because communities will go through that all together. Yeah. Right. And so long as they have the devotion, so like think about it like a sports team, for example, right? Yeah. So if you're on a hockey team and your team loses, what do? Do you just quit? No, of course not. You're devoted to the team. So what do? You guys work together, and you're gonna
back up to practice.
You're gonna go to practice. Exactly. So
new plays.
So it's the same thing. So you're devoted to working together and staying together as a team. Yeah. You're devoted to working together and staying together as a community. It's the same sort of thing. And that's where devotion becomes a part of your life purpose, right? In terms of like, and making sure, and what's great is that in today's age, the ability to allow, you can have community with people from anywhere in the world now. Right. And you're
like online communities.
Yeah, you can be, because once you understand your own life purpose and what matters to you, and you join communities, they could be anywhere in the world, and now you're able to actually connect with people who matter to you because they're aligned in the same direction that you are, right? So there was a time when it was just whoever was on your corner is your community, and that's it, right? It was geographically like limited, right? So people weren't necessarily able to really explore their own interests, right? It would be, I live on a farm and that's the life I'm going to have, and that's all you should be interested in because that's what has to happen here, right? But now they could live on a farm and they could be into cryptocurrency, they could be, and they could, because that's something that actually interests them. So now they can follow that because of the connectivity we have worldwide and be able to actually be connected in that way. So the devotion we have to community and to groups, if they align more with what we care about deeply, then that just makes life even greater, right?
I love it. All right, let's see your devotion to episode 2 of Devotion.
Thank you for listening to Enter the Bunker. Make sure to follow us on Instagram where you can share your story and also look at behind the scenes of how we make our podcast. You can watch the video version of this podcast on YouTube by simply searching Enter the Bunker. Tune in next time as we launch into thriving.